What is up, you savages? This is the Protect Your Neck podcast, and I'm your host, Dan Tom. And this is work you can find over at MMAJunkie.com. But on this here program, the Protect Your Neck podcast, we break down high-level MMA. That's what we're going to do here today, tonight, whenever you're listening to this. Hopefully it's before the fight. Recording this late Thursday night in Las Vegas for UFC Vegas 36, UFC Fight Night 191, UFC Fight Night, Brunson versus Till, UFC whatever. Check the timestamps for when that starts, as per usual. I'll break that down from top to bottom, and as per usual, if you're running even on lesser time than that, or just rather not listen, which I don't blame you, you can always skip to the end. I'll recap my picks and plays here, as well as I have my best plays written down, of course, on the weekly over there at oddscheckerus.com. I'm gonna try to keep it expedited. I know I said that last week. I think I went like an hour and a half. We may or may not have to have another guest like last week, but it'll be short. I'm not gonna overstay that welcome. Today's three quick shouts, and yeah, the UFC on Vegas 35 recap will be the first half, and the back half, as I said, will be the breakdown. All right. Just real quick shouts. Bill Welker, MMA on the Rocks, one of my favorite people, one of my favorite shows. Go check him out. Give him a follow. Give that channel a subscribe. MMA on the Rocks, by the way. And speaking on the Rocks, I gotta check on my man Bill Welker if he just unleashed his new project, drinking channel or not. I believe that's what he's doing. And definitely go check that out. Big fan of Bill. Was fun having me on it. I know I've been trying not to do, trying to limit myself, but then all my favorite peeps come and hit me up, and it's not work when you're talking to the people you like and whatnot. So that was a really fun, laid back recap. There was I had to pollute it with my penis talk, as I tend to do. Stay tuned. Trigger warning. We get kind of crazy, especially delirious Dan Tom. You think normal Dan Tom has trouble with the old filter? Well, delirious Dan Tom on this show it's another animal. It was good times. Speaking of as a good peeps, Fernanda Prates on Best Camp of My Life, of course. One of my favorite podcasts. She's amazing. Follow her. Hopefully, I can't listen to myself, so if you've listened to the episode, hopefully it was good. I know I always have a great time talking to Fernanda. I had some good laughs too. Hopefully that humor came across and it wasn't too depressing. Probably old hat for a lot of you to listen to this show. At least some of the things that we ended up getting into, but it's just like, again, when you're talking to someone. Obviously really cool, you really enjoy talking to, you feel friends, you vibe with, it almost felt like we weren't even, it's like we were just talking to each other, except the difference with her show and this show is people actually listen to that show. So we'll see how many people think I'm crazy or crazier, and how many people hate me. We'll see where the numbers there go. I just ask you to not take it out on Fernanda. She was an amazing, and hopefully you guys, honestly, I know I'm being hard because, me, catastrophizing anything that has to do that, the opposite Midas and myself touches, and that anxiety aside, but no, it was a good time, and I hope you guys did enjoy the show with my catastrophizing aside. Jeff from ESPN, shouts to him for having me on the Sioux Falls show. Nice to those guys. And that concludes the shouts. But go check out those shows, especially Bill and Fernanda there, and go support all their stuff. Good people. All right, UFC Vegas 35 recap. As I pull up my tab here, we went 7-5 overall, 1-2 in straight plays, 2-1 in props, kind of 2-2. I guess I'll get to that as we get to it. I'll be doing this from top to bottom. Of course, Giga Chikadze defeated Edson Barbosa via third-round TKO. Complete opposite call. I had Barbosa third-round TKO. But Giga turned on the afterburners at the beginning of round 3, and it paid off. It's tough, man. At the risk, and I want to go easy because I do give credit where credit's due, believe it or not. And even as hard as I go on Giga, I still am the only person to really be bringing up. One of the only people, I should say. I know Aaron Bronster did a good job bringing it up, but the broadcast, only I think toward the end, and Giga didn't make anything of it, which I kind of wish he did, because I feel like the money I cashed on this under, I feel like I should go donate it to his charity there. And it's honestly one of the best things about him. And even though for me there's from when they back all the way back when they're putting John Jones against Matsushchenko, I just have this real hype when it comes to or this real me with being contrarian, and I'm sure there's no personal projections going along with me siding with people who had to take the harder route as opposed to people who, talented or not, good person or not. Not saying he's none of those things. He is both those things. But that also doesn't mean that someone can't also have a bit of a privileged path. Not his fault. He's doing what he's doing. And it's actually, working out for the better because he's able to develop his skills, which we saw more of. However, aside from what I was getting at is my, contrarian hipster self that wants to see the hype people actually tested appropriately or given the same treatment others get, like the Barbosa B-sides of the world, who is perpetually the B-side, no matter how many highlight reels he can produce, and he is given his respect. It's not that he's not, but usually only given his respect in effort to perhaps build the other side up, right? One of those things. So again, it's cool, I get it, there's benefits to it. It's the world we live in. It's just like many things. It doesn't mean I have to like it. And it doesn't mean, we can't call things out, we can't call things out for what they are, Everyone's trying to make this big hubbub by trying to call a certain person a pro boxer, and that we should give them credit for that. But while in the same breath saying, let's make sure he goes here, not there, or nothing too hard, or this or that. Back to these caveats. Like, wait, I thought we were expanding that this guy's a pro boxer. Anyways, I'm not going to get into that BS because I can get away with not talking about it here, so I'm going to use that. No offense to other shows that have to. I get that stuff sadly becomes a part of the beat. But the point is, fuck me for maybe rooting for the older veteran, the older man. My love for old men, as I totally missed the memory lane shout from Adam Sandler's. A lot of people picked up on that. I think my man Bronstetter was giving me credit. It was a Bill. I think both probably. But it reminded me of the Adam Sandler skit, Memory Lane. Speaking of love for old men, I'll probably attach that for those of you guys listening on the audio bonus there. But yeah, and of course, when I go hard on an opinion, I tend to piss people off as if I need to lose any more fans or friends. But I know I pissed both of those off because, Chikadze has a very passionate fan base, as I pointed out. And I'm not going to give crap, even though, it's only, that sentiment is only stronger now. Instead, I'll look at the silver lining, which is, even though we won't get to sadly see him tested really against wrestlers because there's not that many, Chikadze, he's good at what he does, even though, page note that, I clearly don't get it to a certain extent. Not like don't get, just, it's clearly, I clearly have a bias against it, I should say. And somebody who prides myself of stating my biases, perhaps should have counted this one a little more in. Although, again, I still laid out the work pre and post as far as the angle, which cashed and did account for my bias. But still, I come across this leaving feeling so unsatisfied. And I know a lot of analysts felt the same way going in and going out, so I don't necessarily feel bad, but it's just one of those things that analysis be damned, right? You can watch his whole kickboxing career, literally count all the kick checks to 2, and then he goes and checks, the first 2 kicks right off the bat. I'm like, wow, I look fucking stupid, don't I? Of course he's going to start checking kicks. And both of them, too. Both of them looked a bit perturbed, or at least, very least, not as comfortable kicking. Chikadze obviously landed more kicks. He even landed his money kick, his liver kick. Yeah, Giga kick. All right. You know what I mean? But, multiple times. But, to Barbosa's credit, he showed some of the checks and things you can do, although he didn't build off it. He cut the cage, although he didn't, and not that he's the most distinct pressure fighter, but he has been pressuring a lot more at featherweight. He didn't pull the trigger a lot. It was just clear that, whatever Chikadze was selling, he was buying. It did not feel good, and that's the thing. He might not have the nuance of like feints or like, I believe Conor Rebish was saying this, and shout out to him. I was talking about this to him on Twitter. Or I'm totally with him in the sense that, like, go figure, me and Conor have a similar hipster sensibility when it comes to certain things, right? But he's not, by the definition of like what a lot of technical analysts like to see on mixing up power and certain things. And even if you go to his traditional martial arts style, and again, I'm the only person even diving into these things, but again, analysis be damned. You say something bad about, the dick of the day that everybody's supposed to be sucking and you refuse to suck it. Shame on you, apparently. But even with Goju Ryu, hard and soft style, soft circular, hard linear, depending on the subsets, of course, he throws everything circular, straight, tired, not tired, beginning around, end around. He's throwing with everything he's got. Maybe it's just because I could tell he's one of those dudes that would just be a pain in the ass, that janky style in the sparring room. And, he's just as much of a pain in the ass, clearly, in the real fight, to his credit. And the style works for him, man. I may not dig it, but now he's putting it together against an MMA sample size. Because again, folks, I'm not saying Giga, had bullshit experience or that Glory is bullshit, but it's a really weird thing when you have Glory, when you have like, Carl Roberson was a Glory kickboxer. He's having his second or third fight here, or this is his second appearance in Glory, and he fought, what's his name? Was it Remy Bonjasky or somebody? I forget, but like he fought like a legend, but it was like some random thing where like he steps in last minute for his first kickboxing fight to fight a legend, like a clear, but he does pretty good and overachieves even in a loss. And then I think he takes another fight and he loses that, and I think he's just like 1-3 or something. But everyone, it's a Glory kickboxer. And I'm not trying to shit on Roberson here or Glory again, but it's just like it's that weird mix. And then even when you look at Chikadze's guys, they were guys coming off of like the dudes that were actually over 5'2" and were somewhat in shape were like the Ken Trans of the world, who may have fought Rory McDonald back in the day, but like was coming off the couch from 5 years and shit. So it's not like I'm not saying anything that wasn't true. We just needed to see that sample size, a more relevant sample size against more relevant names in the sport at hand, which was MMA, right? So that was interesting. And Barbosa, even though he didn't kick much, like when he did kick the leg and kick the body or go to the body, he actually drew reactions from it. But even though Barbosa tried to keep his reactions with a poker face, Chikadze, you could tell, and Chikadze, more importantly, could tell that he was getting through on his blitzes, even though he got checked on an early one, which was more of a slip than a knockdown. But I was like, okay, more of that. But once, round 2 came about, and even though it was still kind of a hesitant Barbosa, clearly seeing stuff he didn't like, he was putting the better pressure. And I know the strikes say he got outstruck by the numbers, but the numbers don't tell the story of a fight. There's plenty of stuff that I watched in this next card, folks, where I was like, the numbers looks like this person slowed down. I'm like, nope, they got all 30-27s, and when you watch it, they hurt the person a bunch of times. It's quality of strike, right? And Barbosa's actually, to his credit, did it to affect the leg and body, oddly enough, even though it was Giga that was blasting him, right? More and harder, visibly. But, Barbosa did get reactions for what that was worth, but it wasn't enough. He got blitzed on round 3. Chikadze showed some ground stuff, which, they were glimpses, and it's like, it's cool. Like, I'm glad he wants to show those things, and that's good that he's getting better. But at the same time, it's like, how much do we credit him for locking up a submission and almost letting a guy recover, right? It could have been like, we'll get to Emir Sabatini, but it could have gotten reversed on him, right? That being said, Giga was smart enough to separate, gets up, and finishes it. No issue with the stoppage whatsoever. And yeah, man, the silver lining here is, he might not get tested in the way I would like to see or wanted to see, or that was stylistically available. But the fact that Giga has shown that his style, no matter what anyone, me or anyone thinks of it, it's a fucking problem to deal with. And he's in a division full of strikers. I think that the fans are the winners here. To use that cheap cop out, But yeah, man. I don't know. I think it was just more of just a lot of just with the whole circus and a lot of the bullshit surrounding just a bunch of stuff with traditional martial arts and my stupid chips on my shoulders as far as feeling useless and not getting credit for that, even though one of the few that actually incorporates it into my analysis on the reg, because it's, God forbid, my background. It's just annoying, and like people being offended that, just like people got offended that I brought up Katsunori Kikuno. Even though I brought him up with like a relevant gif of him throwing a very similar style kick. And like I don't think people understood like that I tweeted it when the broadcast was like searching for names and karate people, and they were naming the Shotokan guy who fights in a completely different style in Machida. They were naming the point karate, Kempo karate guy that fights in a completely different style in Stephen Thompson, because those are always like the two same names that get abused for every karate point nuance style or fighter. And I know that Kikuno isn't Gojurayu, by the way, I forget too. Someone suggested it was Kempo. I was like, really? I didn't think it was Kempo. I thought it was more like of a kind of. I don't want to say Shotokan because that's wrong too. But I actually went and looked it up, and now it's not even there. But yeah, someone tried to explain to me, and I looked it up. I'm like, that's actually wrong, but shout out to my man Sam Yang. People trying to tell us martial arts and our experiences of it is just, or getting upset when we bring up other Asians. It's I don't know what's going on, man. I'm not trying to upset anybody, man. I love y'all. Appreciate y'all interaction. I'm sorry for not sucking the giga dick, but and I still don't know if I will, but you know what? Seriously, I'm gonna go look up that. See if he has a link to the charity. If anybody sends it to me, and if it's available to do any kind of open donation, I'll donate my winnings from the under to Giga's charity. So hopefully people can not get butthurt. Brian Battle defeated Gilbert Urbina via submission. I barely really watched this fight, to be honest, so I don't know. Yeah. Ricky Tercios defeated Brady Heiston. I didn't really watch this one too closely either. Kind of checked out. Tercios just reminded me of like Miguel Torres. I know people were saying Tony Ferguson. That's fine too. Heiston had an argument for winning, apparently, but as we're seeing, with the judges trending toward damage, which is the criteria. It is not uncommon if the fighter is more active from the bottom to outweigh them within that round. Daniel Rodriguez defeated Kevin Lee via unanimous decision. D-Rod. I guess he still technically gave him the rod, right? Even though he didn't finish him. Andre Petrovsky defeats Michael Gilmore, third round TKO. I know he went against opposite there. As I know he's usually gasses, so good on him. Picked him, but didn't play it. Gerald Mearshart defeated Mahmoud Muradov. Oh man, that was the fight of the night. Speaking of Mahmoud Muradov, real quick, shout out to the fight site. I was listening to Ed and Shriram talk, and according to Shriram, I might have to get the full report from him. Apparently, Mahmoud has got some trading cards. He's got like his own kind of sports card, but like maybe not for sports, maybe more adult. The way it sounds, like he's got his own stats and everything listed. Apparently, I don't know why. I just got a picture of like Muradov with like a Bob the Builder construction hat, a hard hat, helmet on. He's got a lunch pail, right? I don't know. Well, leave it up to the imagination.
Hey, listen, I wouldn't give Meredov shit. Before I was Rocky, I was the Italian stallion.
Oh, Jesus Christ, you are here. Yeah, folks, that's right. I brought him in for a quick victory lap, and wow, I guess you could probably talk about both sides of this story. But yeah, congrats, Sly.
Yeah.
You picked Mearshart.
Yeah, Sly's a fan of this chart. I think everybody knows Sly's a fan of this chart.
Yeah, everybody knows now, Sly. Believe me. If they don't, they. Anyways, yeah. You picked the chart, and I'm happy for you because Gerald's a good guy. I felt bad for picking GM3, picking against GM3, but he persevered there. It was like you said, it was the Southpaw and that maybe some of that American spirit, huh, Sly?
Oh yeah, American spirit all the way, Southpaw. Gerald, Gerald really earned a spot. Gerald, if you're listening, like I said, there's some much needed ambiance at my coffee table parties, and maybe you, I don't know, but
listen, Sly, let's not go there. Although, at the risk of, having you stay any longer and overstaying your welcome, how about that Murdoch trading card, huh? I mean, he's got his stats on there and everything, apparently.
Yeah, I didn't have no stats at Kitty's Playhouse or whatever that film was I did. He ain't no Sly back in the day. Sly made some films.
Sly, I actually don't think they're as bad as those parties you alluded to. So, I can see why you're quite proud of that at your age.
Yeah, Sly knows what to do. He knows how to make money, whether it's picking the shot or doing other things with the shot.
All right, Sly. On that note, all right, thanks. All right, folks. Sorry. Contractual WMEING shit. He's got to make his rounds, and he thinks this is actually a notable podcast. So we'll let him think that. He's probably gonna have to come back later, but not today. Don't worry. We're gonna push through. Sly just had to do his victory lap and comment on those. In the world of NFTs, what would you consider that? Would that be like a would that be like what Murdoch had? Would that be like a would that be like a NFDP, a non-fungible dick pic? Of course, the UFC Championship Edition, those are worth a lot, but you'd have like a couple rogue cards that like just gain popularity that they'd have to mark up just like they did in the Wizards back in the day with the comics. Like, wow, the GSPs and Kamaru Usman cards are trending nice, but who's this? Imagine like someone in the future like reading off these values, going, "Why is this William Knight card worth so much?" I don't know, but this Tafon and Chucky one's not doing too bad either. like multiple card sets because they're so thick they can't even fit on like one card. I got Willie's shoulder. What do you got? I don't know, but there's a lot of veins. All right. Jesus Christ. Oh, the possibilities with the NFDPs, UFC. This is why I will never be in a position of power, folks. Again, I don't know what my problem is. Okay, let's not get too deep into that one. Let's move on. Who else do we got? We got Dual Razak Al Hassan. I was tempted to pour myself a drink, by the way, but I'm sober as shit right now, by the way. Just being goofy as fuck. Defeated Alessio Di Chirico via first round TKO. Yeah, he came out and blasted it up. If you guys remember that thing I said about Emmers and commentary on black athletes, I wrote pure explosive power. Bisping on Al Hassan. I tell you, folks. Anyways, and I like Bisping too, by the way. But just pointing it out. Wellington Turman defeated Sam Alvey via split decision. That was a weird fight. Ooh, bad bet, but yeah, that's just more of a bad look on Alvey than anything. I mean, that was the one fight that stylistically he could win, and then he even got the 2 points gifted his way and still couldn't pull it off. Which I don't disagree with, by the way. Wellington Turman won every round. So yeah, that's a bad look. I'm curious to see what they do with Sam Alvey, what Dana White said in that post-fight press conference. Dustin Jacoby defeated Darren Stewart via first round TKO. got the job done fast. Maybe in hindsight, I should have, stuck with my gut there with Jacoby because he cashed. Maybe done a Jacoby Aldridge parlay because that would have cashed as J.J. Aldridge defeated Vanessa Demopoulos via unanimous decision. This helped. This definitely came through. It was a good start to the night. The sub prop plus 500 plus the dog play. Pat Sabatini cash defeats Jamal Emmers via sub heel hook. The match started in the worst way possible. Pat Sabatini was going to be the on paper slightly more dangerous person in that first round, and with the way Jamal Emmers' striking has been trending, his volume and his power and his confidence has been going up. So maybe that's not a surprise. But yeah, he sits Sabatini down early, but he makes the mistake of tying up with him. And I said this with the Fight IQ. I said, look out for him snatching up the long legs. And sure enough, that happened. You could see the moment exactly when Sabatini looks over his shoulder and sees that Jamal Emmers is committing to a toe hold. He almost smirks because he knows it's done. He's like, you just brought a pistol to a machine gun fight. And he gets him with the inside heel hook, I believe. Mono Martinez defeated Guido Canetti via split decision. I didn't watch this one too closely. But happy Mono Martinez won. Very emotional and very understandable after losing a coach. It's not fun. Yeah, say that. All right, that is that card. How did we do on time? 27:13. Okay, we're gonna move on to UFC Vegas 36. Yeah, I don't know. All right, we got Darren Till minus 184, Derek Brunson plus 154. All right, yeah, my breakdown's out on this one pretty much. One in leaning toward Derek Brunson, and I still came out picking Derek Brunson, just not as confident. I feel like Till could cap him off as he's gotten better with his counters, and we saw in that Robert Whittaker fight could do something similar with the uppercuts, elbows, intercepting left hand in general early, or I also think he is just as likely to do it late because Derek Brunson's gotten better with his pacing since moving to Sanford MMA, but instead of gassing in the second round, now he just gasses toward the end of the third. Luckily, he's been able to recoup because he had a guy like Holland who was fighting on short notice and had no wrestling. But Darren Till is underrated in the clinch. I've always said that, and is underrated counter wrestling. And to his credit, a lot of the times where he was, either submitted on the ground or elbowed and got a lot of damage done on the ground in his last fight in Whittaker, both those weren't takedowns that got him there. They were actually knockdowns that Till got knocked down. But, thankfully for Derek Brunson, I think people forget. They keep talking about the knockout power, just like the title contention, like it's somehow on one side, although one man clearly has a higher knockout percentage, and one man is only won one fight in the division against a former welterweight, while the other has actually been around and is on a 4-fight winning streak. So, not shitting on Till, it's more the promotion. I can't help but counterbalance that narrative. Please, people, don't, I gotta qualify everything because of, the feelings that get hurt on the fan favorites when you don't bow down. I'm not trying to get hung up on that, but I feel like I piss enough people off. Try not to do that. But at the same time, God forbid I'm honest. And I don't, those numbers are pretty factual. Unfair for the talking points. I feel like Derek Brunson should be closer to a title fight, but of course, if Till wins, he will get it. You can't keep that aside of the analysis, though. But yeah, I think Till can go early or late. Brunson, again, he has the power that people are overlooking, like I said, but, he'll throw himself out of position, even when he's fighting more conservative, or he can be the wild man. Brunson can be a bit inconsistent, which is why this isn't like a run out and bet. I'm going to wait to see how my plays do prior before I play this, before I even decide to sprinkle, but I may only sprinkle on Brunson, and whether you're playing Till or Brunson, I caution you if you're overconfident. And I suggest you also take a look at the under 3.5 at plus money, as I feel like that could be an addition or a hedge. A hedge for Till, as he could win a decision, So if you're on till, and you might lose the under, but at least you cash the till ticket. However, I think that no matter which side you're on money line, I think that under may be an additional cash or hedge because again, these were matchups that Derek Brunson could kind of control, or that didn't have the same type of stylistic potency interacting with him. In other words, that even with the improvements, I still suspect that Darren Till's too dangerous for Derek to let hang around, whether he's winning or losing. So it's going to be an inherently do-or-die contest that may be attached to Derek Brunson's gas tank and however long it lasts. That they're going to have to get a finish before the fuse runs out, or will be finished in the process because he'll gas himself trying to get the finish, or put himself in a very vulnerable position whilst trying to get to a position to get the finish on the feet, right? So yeah, the under at plus money is probably the safest angle, although there really isn't, nor there really shouldn't be a confident angle because it could end in the middle, it could end it early, it could go to distance, and they could do so for technically either party. But with this being in the small cage, again, my formula, gonna go with the wrestler in the smaller cage there, and better submission grappler too, because Derek Brunson, since we saw him last, just got his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, as I suspect. As I suspect he may try to show that off from a stylistic standpoint. Also, this fight was supposed to initially take place in England in the bigger cage, home court advantage. Guy who feeds off the crowd until not going to have that. All the added stresses of travel. He still cuts he still cuts weight. He doesn't walk around near middleweight. Did not seem too happy in the interviews, which who could blame him? He's got extra added travel for a lot of these fighters, especially the English fighters who were counting on a hometown. Now they've got the letdown and the kind of added travel, right? And then the smaller cage as well, yeah. So I'm gonna go with Brunson to wrestle, and even though again Brunson could maybe be super sketchy if he gets the decision, because he's going to be surviving some weird late rounds. So I'm picking Brunson to get it done inside. I'm thinking either a submission or just, forcing the ref to stop it by strikes by just, getting a belly down, back him out, and just punching him out kind of a deal. Because Till likes to turtle to stand, and Derek is big and strong, and maybe a guy to actually stop that because he can actually back take and do better positional work than Robert Whittaker has shown to do. And that's not a knock on Whittaker, obviously. He beat him, and I picked him to beat him, and I love Whittaker, but I'm just saying. So, yeah, Derek Brunson, third round TKO. Let's see. If it's like last week, it'll be Till TKO. He'll be like, "You're fucking idiot, Dan. You always pick against me. Buh, you're wrong. Buh." Take a shot for every buh. I love it, by the way. I love my brothers and sisters across the pond, but I especially love the Northern England accents. The Northern England. It's quite interesting. Buh. Not from Liverpool, but Northwestern England. Tom Aspinall. Minus 245. Easy, Dan. Sergey Spivak, plus 200. Going with Danny Brenner from Bellator and Frank Mir had a kid, Tom Aspinall, versus Sergey Spivak, who's perpetually fighting for a right to an ice fishing hole somewhere in Northern Europe, which looks like where he came from. He does not appear to be in the Extreme Couture photos, which makes sense. He's taking this fight on last minute, just a couple weeks. But in his defense, he is heavyweight, so he doesn't have to cut weight. But I do still think he has the travel aspect along with Tom. But again, good news for both these guys is they don't have to cut weight. Tom looks in great shape coming into this one. looks like he's had a ton of big bodies to work with. I didn't see Darren Till in a lot of his photos, except for like one where Darren Till's got like a black eye. But he's got some like huge bodies in there to work with, which is great. And I imagine Tom Aspinall called out Sergey Spivak for a reason. But between this being heavyweight, Sergey Spivak overperforming not just my expectations because I've discounted him way too much, but even others who's paid more attention to him than I have. It kind of scares me off, as well as, and let me know if you guys had as much trouble. I could not find it. I had a hard time searching from ESPN, Fight Pass to the old Google and beyond. Sergey's recent fights, I couldn't get any like reliable links. Like everything was taken down or not working. They did go back and review Tom Aspinall's. It pretty much just comes down to the gas tank and his experience in those later rounds, because we could speculate on what his speed was going to do in the Arlovsky fight, but we got to see it. And ultimately, the wrestling that he still dug out in that Arlovsky fight, and the short right hands, that short counter right hand, the short right hand in general, that Tom Aspinall has, I think it's going to be money here, especially with the height parity that he's going to have with Spivak and the length parity. So I do think he gets it done. Unfortunately, it's probably going to be early. I would like to see a longer fight to see how Tom fares. That probably wouldn't be the best thing for him here, or Tom Aspinall betters. I stayed away, but the pick is Aspinall. Next fight, Alex Moreno minus 134, David Zavada plus 114. This one kind of surprised me. Moreno was the pick off first glance, but then I realized Moreno's taking this fight on like just over a week notice, I believe. Doesn't look like he was in Dallas. It looks like he was in Houston, which is his home base and has been his home base. Granted. And he has had bigger bodies to work there. I believe some like light heavyweight dude and Trevin Giles, Jay Giles. But I don't know how that is, man. Like I know Zavada's a pretty. He's going to be larger, longer, and taller than Moreno. He's not a small welterweight, but yeah, I don't know how the jumping in last minute is going to work for Moreno. He hasn't shown the best gas tank or consistency, although the consistency part and pacing part has gotten a lot better since working with Safe Sayud and Fortis. Again, doesn't look like he had work with them in this camp, and I don't know if Safe Sayud is going to be up there or in his corner for this camp, although that part wouldn't surprise me. But again, not a full camp with them or with himself, right? Claims to be in shape, though. Excited for opportunity. I believe he's taking his last two fights on short notice, which is 1-1. However, he got beaten in a decision by Anthony Pettis in the later rounds. It almost finished at the very end, and then beat a clearly shot Cowboy Cerrone, who is clearly on the downfall, right? Or has been on it. So those, so I don't know what to make of Moreno going, short notice. Whereas Zavada, he was preparing for Sergey Kayandasco, and he's had another full camp at American Top Team where he's been cross training since Hector Lombard picked him up like back in 2017 for that Anthony Smith fight camp. And since then, not coincidentally enough, he's gotten better with his wrestling, and better with his leg kicks and calf kicks. And I think all those, along with his counter left hooks, going to come in real handy against an aggressive forward mover like Moreno, to where I think Zawada can either, like Moreno's shown that he can be stopped late, and Zawada's powerful and has hard knees, hooks, leg kicks, etc. But I feel like he could just really beat him up for the duration by beating up those legs, and then when he gasses out, can maybe force a stoppage. Again, Zawada, he has a losing record in the UFC, but those were deceptively tough fights. Short notice against Danny Roberts, and a couple different swings. That fight could have gone his way. The Ramzan Ami fight was a lot closer to going his way than I realized. Both those were splits, mind you. And he almost finished Li Jiangli multiple times before getting finished with a body shot in the third round after just a ridiculous war. A liver shot, I think it was like a perfectly placed liver shot too, because he held his right side, right? And Moreno does attack the body, but it's mainly like teeping front kicks. They're not the hardest things. Watch, he's gonna just stop with a body kick now, which you shouldn't be surprised. Moreno does also have a Taekwondo black belt to go with his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Zavada is one of those really well-rounded guys who's competed in kickboxing, no-gi grappling, and won multiple regional titles in MMA. So he's just ridiculously well-rounded, as he's shown he can submit a Nurmagomedov. Or he can, or he can slug it out, using the art of 8 limbs. Although I wish he really used the jab or more, more longer tools like that. But again, I don't know if this is the fighter to make him pay for that. He has shown to, Zavada's aggression has shown to allow him to give takedowns, right? But again, I don't know if this is the person to take advantage of that either. Moreno only has like a couple like clinch takedowns, it looks like, and Zavada has those too, but he's gotten better with his defense and has incorporated more traditional wrestling, which would make sense considering he's training at American Top Team. Whereas Moreno, he just doesn't look as strong, nor does his hips look as strong, nor does his wrestling techniques look as strong. Like even there's this moment where with Pettis, and he's the bigger, even Moreno not being the biggest or imposing welterweight, was still a bigger welterweight than Pettis and more natural one. And there's that point where he has both. He almost has like that low, like almost like Khabib mount, where he's like crossed up under the legs. And granted, it's a weird, it's kind of a weird position, but I still feel like he should have had more than enough leverage to get on top of Pettis. And you see Pettis like with his legs like completely like together and straight and forward. He's still able to get enough leverage to turn up off the floor and with Moreno's body attached to turn into his guard. And I was just like, oof, that, so I really feel like Zavada's hips are going to be much stronger. You can still get Zavada plus money. Money's been trending because he opened a bit wider than this, which I don't agree with. It should have been closer to a pick 'em from the start, but he opened at plus 165. I got him at plus 118, not much better than where he's at right now, which is like plus 114 or plus 105, that range, depending on where you look. I just played the money line because you're getting plus money. Who knows when it's going to end? But win or lose, as a trend when I bet underdogs, he's a guy that will fight for the money. So Zavada, half a unit. Next fight, Modestas Bukauskas, minus 146, Khalil Roundtree Jr., plus 124. Picking against some biases here. Again, we're going to risk pissing more people off. Obviously, I know Khalil from back in the day. Shouts to the Rock and Java days. Always rooted for him. Have ran in similar circles before. Interviewed him professionally. And so yeah, it's usually just a pick and stay away for Khalil, but I can't always do that. I believe I submitted Bukauskas for my staff picks. I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to be rooting for Khalil, though, or cheering for him. I also feel weird saying rooting after, I got a lot of Australian listeners. Shout out to Mark Fellows. I know that means different for you guys there. So I'm going to go Modestas Bukauskas. Just because it's just so hard. I can't, unbiasedly, I can't deny that, Khalil's been inconsistent, so I'm going to pick the more consistent fighter, but I'm going to be rooting for Khalil to win. No plays, I stayed away from that one. Patti the fucking Patti, minus 154. Luigi Vendramini, plus 130. Went with Vendramini here. Oh, what? Surprise. Dad went against the hype guy. No, not just because of that, and I'm not even confident. I actually didn't even touch this fight, to be honest, because who knows. But both fighters, Vendramini's got more UFC experience, sure, but Paddy Pimblett's got a ton of experience himself over there at Cage Warriors. Kid's been fighting since it was he could legally do so. But there's still a lot of questions to be asked, For as much as I don't like Paddy Pimblett's stand-up style, we saw that just because I don't like his stand-up style doesn't mean he can't be effective. Doesn't mean they can't still win. That being said, just the stiffness, the straight-up in the airness, I don't know. Not so much stiffness, I should say. He's actually gotten much more fluid and fast, Paddy has. It looks like he's worked on his strength and conditioning too, but I don't know. It just seems like a lot of flash fodder. Has some decent kicks for sure that he really whips into because he's really confident, obviously, in being off of his back and his grappling game. But Vendramini is the more well-rounded striker, the more powerful striker. Favors a bit of that Muay Thai style, which makes sense. He shifted camp over. This will be his second camp now at Factory X Muay Thai. I like that. He's been spending a lot of time stateside. Looks in the best shape of his life. I believe he's fought at welterweight before, whereas Paddy is now a filled-out lightweight, so size shouldn't be an issue. He may, in fact, look like the bigger guy, but Paddy is a former bantamweight, featherweight, and really bulked up in this later part of his lightweight stretch as he's heading into the UFC. That being said, Paddy's putting his eggs in his baskets, talking big, putting a lot of pressure on himself, and he could do it, First round finish is what he's calling for, but again, fighter that really is putting himself in that hole to do that in their first fight, first round or bust mindset with arguably, although Paddy, even in defeat has been, has grinded and tried to scrap it out later in the fights. He still was reliant mainly on the submission, and his TKOs are from outpositioning the guy. And Vendramini doesn't look to have great wrestling either, but he looks to be the more stronger guy, and he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. And I wrote his dad here. I think his dad is actually a black belt from back in the day. So his dad actually had him doing Jiu-Jitsu since he was a kid. So, he's been doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, or he's been doing grappling for a long time, longer than Paddy, arguably, right? He's been doing it from a younger age, and I believe is possibly even older. Either way, it's not going to be a guarantee that Paddy Pimblett's going to sub him, especially if he doesn't have the club and sub type of capability. He could hit him just perfect and then jump on something, right? But if he doesn't, and Vendramini is able to scramble with him, I think he can. I feel like Vendramini can take over and or possibly knock him out in the process. So I feel like Vendramini can either get a stoppage with strikes or maybe squeeze out a 29-28 in a crazy fight. I'm going to reluctantly pick Vendramini, but it's nothing crazy. And again, strictly analysis. It has nothing to do with Pimblett's hype or, I believe the white nationalist stuff that he may or may not have said, which was not cool. So I'll leave it at that, though. All right, next fight, Ji Yeon Kim, -116. Molly McCann, -102. Big fan of Meatball Mully. Former sandwich artist like myself there. Fucking, I don't know, my first job like 20 years ago. Jesus Christ. So, shouts to that. And she just seems like a sweetheart. I love that she put out her book and the theme of it. That being said, I did go with Ji Yeon Kim, Fire Fist here. She's had a full camp, looks like down here at Syndicate MMA, with plenty of females to train with, a lot of bodies. A lot of them had good things to say about her. Sounds like she was jabbing up some of her teammates, which isn't the craziest thing, given her primarily striking background in martial arts, traditional and non. And her length and size, yeah. So it is a small cage, and Molly McCann has shown to transition better with her takedowns off of strikes. We'll see if she, can do that. But if she can't, and even if she can, I don't know if that's going to guarantee her a win. She's going to really have to dominate down there, especially with the way judges are going. So I'm going to go with Ji Yeon Kim to land the better strikes standing and the more damaging shots to the judges. But like the line, it's not a confident pick, and especially not confident because I didn't research this one heavily because I wasn't looking to bet it. But the pick will be Kim. Next fight, Jack Shore, -560. Leodvik Sholinian, +420, man. Leodvik apparently was a tough contestant. I didn't watch it, but he lost to Ricky Tercios and beat a name I'm not familiar with. Looks like he's got a ton of Ukrainian wrestling credits to his credit. like 3 guillotine wins and like only 1 knockout. So I'm guessing he's probably going to be mainly a control guy. I don't know if he's going to get that with a sizable guy who can grapple himself in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Japanese Jiu-Jitsu black belt and Jack Shore. So I'm going to go with Shore here. And since this, since I'm guessing the wrestler he's facing is wrestling on his mind, he's either going to get to the ground and get subbed or get tagged up on the feet and get hurt and shoot while he's hurt and get subbed. So I'm going to take a piece of Jack Shore by submission at plus 165. Just small. But I haven't played it yet, but I was just looking at it before I jumped on here. So I like that, I think. Charles Jourdain, minus 184. Julian Erosa, a.k.a. Cameron from Ferris Bueller, plus 154. I don't like that Erosa's taking this fight on short notice and within 2 months or so of being, like, knocked out bad. I don't like that at all. Charles Jourdain has shown that, that first round is going to be sketchy. In fact, you could maybe even lose in that first round because I imagine, a guy going on short notice is going to go do or die. Catch weight at 150 pounds. But even if it was catch weight, I still don't even know how Erosa makes 150, much less 145. So I expect him to, even though he's dogged, I expect him to maybe fade toward round 3, just naturally because of that. And Jourdain is a guy who purposely goes for round 3 finishes, and almost I think he even said in an interview with Aaron Bronstetter, shout to him, that the way his physicality and pace goes, he aims for round 3 finishes. So I sprinkled a bit on Jourdain round 3. What did I get on it? I didn't get anything great on it. It was plus 850. Not too great, but I sprinkled it. I think I might actually got a little higher, but still, that's what it's listing as now. I don't know if he's gonna, we'll see if he gets it done inside. He could also win decision, but I just sprinkled on that. I didn't put him in any parlays or anything. I don't blame you for doing so. Although I don't know, we'll see. Speaking of parlays, we actually close out. I know, just the way it worked, I'm going to end up trying to make my money early. I don't feel great about this one, though. Marc-Andre Barrios, minus 164. Dalcha Lungiambula, plus 138. I think I actually submitted Dalcha for staff pick, but that one's not going public since it's a prelim. And just looking at it closer, this was a Marc-Andre Barrios pick. And it sucks because Dalcha's working with my guy, Eric Nixick. Shouts to him. I know it's been a tough week for those guys down there. Rest in peace to Kyle Reyes. Hope you guys saw the GoFundMe that I shared. I'm going to try to get that another share, actually, around 2. And Dalcha looks like, this is his second camp. He's obviously, getting on with his guy, Francis Ngannou, over there. And he's getting his training in. And Eric's amazing, I got nothing bad to say about them or the team. I think it'd be a great fit for Lungiambula, especially, Eric on the mitts. But I don't know, Eric, Dewey Cooper, you could have anybody. And I'm not sure in this amount of time how much you can coach, certain things out of Lungiambula. Now, I wouldn't know. They would know they're in the training room with him. But from what I see from an outsider perspective, he seems to, be hardwired to throw heat into everything he throws and not necessarily have the gas tank to sustain it, right? Which is the over and underlying problem, potentially, to why I'm picking Barrio. But B, it's also that there is this, and not even like a jank like Chikadze where it's just hard to time, like more just a stiffness, a tightness, whether it's all the years of judo, the sensibilities to want to throw and load, and all these things working against each other, that makes just for a tight and rigid striking product that he kind of offers. But man, I don't know how you coach that out of somebody. I think you can, obviously. I just feel like it may take a little more time than what we're seeing as far as the Dalcha turnaround. We'll see, man. If anybody's going to do it, it's my guys over there. But when I see a guy that just has that hard wiring where it's just, athleticism explosion or whatever, as the commentary likes to say. But he's got one of those gas tanks, and not to Roganify it, but like he's got one of those suspect tanks. He's always throwing with power, and feels like a lot of knockout or bust, because his fights, even over at EFC, they get sketchy when they get past that midpoint of the second round, right? So against a grinder that's never been stopped or submitted in Barrio, like that just feels like stylistic kryptonite. Now you want to talk about in camp intangibles, the fact that Barrio, just changed his life around and moved down to Florida to work at Sanford MMA. Loving it. Looking great. Feeling great. Says he's really focusing on shoring up his wrestling holes. I feel like the La Jambula will still be able to get takedowns. And like his last decision, that's his best route to winning a decision. But not only can it get sketchy like it did in that last fight against, Marcus Perez of all people, but against Powerball Barrio, who just chases the fight and is much more sensible with what he throws and much more consistent in the tools that he offers. Man, I just feels like this is just one of those classic bad matchups written all over it, where it's just knockout or bust. And you know me, I tend to go with the opposite of the knockout or bust guy. So I picked Barrio here. He is one leg of the two-leg parlay. And with the round 3 sprinkles, I also took a bit of that for around 8 plus 850 as well, for Barrio round 3. Kind of like the GIF on the bowling balls. I was trying to look for a GIF of a bunch of people lining up together and launching bowling balls one after another, like in tight unison, trying to see how many bowling balls they can get before the gate closes down the lane. And I couldn't find that. I know me and my goofy Taekwondo buddies couldn't have been the only people doing that back in the day, right? And so I was kind of disappointed that I couldn't find a GIF of that, because that's what I feel like with me, trying to shoot all these round 3 props. I'm trying to get as many in the gate and trying to hit as many pins as I can, to turn that profit. So I sprinkled a bit on the round 3, and if I lose, well then my guy and his team wins. So I'm happy. But this is the game we play. Hopefully, not hopefully. I know Eric, man. He's nothing but a pro. He knows that there's more important things in life than these silly things. Not silly things, but, things that should be in the professional realm, One of the coaches Eric respects most is Henry Ooft, and who's going to be opposite of his cornerbacking mark, Andre Barrios, Henry Ooft. Do you think that's going to make their friendship any less when Henry's, yelling, "He's tired, get after him"? You think Eric's going to take that personally? Hell no, he's a pro. So, again, it just, if only we could all have those attitudes, and if only I could just not piss people off genuinely, because I'm just bad at that and I suck. Jonathan Martinez minus 154, Marcelo Rojo plus 130. Marcelo Rojo, maybe between the tattoos and at least the length and some of the striking stuff, maybe he's like the poor man's Andre Fili. Without the double leg takedown and the meaningful jab. He's got a jab that he'll double or triple on, but not too meaningful. It's more of his left hook, which is meaningful because Jonathan Martinez got knocked out. Not just knocked out, but tagged by a couple times by that left hook. Left hook can be that kryptonite for the southpaws, right? So that'll be worth watching out for. However, I feel like Jonathan Martinez learned his lesson from that. I feel like outside of that fight, Jonathan Martinez has been very durable. I feel like that was a learning lesson for Jonathan Martinez. And I still don't feel like Jonathan Martinez gets enough credit. People forget that he actually beat Andre Uhl and has been showing a lot of striking improvements. Was also, teeing up Davey Grant for parts in the first round and almost finishing him at the end of it. So I like his southpaw kicks and his kick radar, although he actually can take him at a high clip too, so that'll be interesting, because Marcelo Rojo showed that he hurt Charles Jourdain's legs, even though he didn't land that much. So that'll be interesting to watch. But when Charles Jourdain went southpaw, his left crosses down the center, both countering and coming forward, as well as his open stance southpaw kicks, both to the body and to the head, were just wrecking shop and what won him the fight against Rojo. were clearly was clearly the most successful strikes he had. And that's Martinez's bread and butter, who is a natural, real hard-hitting southpaw. Hopefully he brings back more of the check right hook that was not apparent, and I think part of the reason on why he got hooked in that hooking lane by Davey Grant swinging them bones, head. That's what Davey does. Hopefully Martinez brings that back. Vote for Pedro. I voted for Pedro. If you got down to minus 150 or below it, I feel like I could have just played him straight up. But you're still almost getting $1 discount, I think, because he's a fighter that people don't think high of, a fighter that you can look at him and misjudge him, and he's coming off a knockout loss. Whereas Rojo, overperformed in a loss, even though he was stopped because he doesn't have the greatest defense. And more importantly, all Rojo's losses are in the third round, whereas Jonathan Martinez has a knack for finishing fights, as well as his most recent finishes all come in the third round. So I sprinkled a bit on Jonathan Martinez plus 1,000, or plus 1,200, I'm sorry, round 3. That's right, 3 round 3s. So I sprinkled on that there too. So hopefully one of those hit, especially if like one of the parlay legs crash, then one of those round 3s makes up for it. If not, the dog hitting will make up for either the parlay or misses on the round 3s if they all miss. If just the dog hits, because I only put a half unit and then a full unit on my parlay, and little like 0.17 to 0.125 quarter units on the round 3 props. As well as the Shore by sub plus 165. So let me just recap those, my picks and plays real quick. How did I do on time? 102, not too bad. All right, taking Brunson over Till, taking Aspinall over Spivak, taking Zawada over Moreno, taking Bukowskis over Roundtree, taking Vendramini over Pimblett, taking Kim over McCann, taking Shore over Sholinian, taking Jourdain over Buerosa, taking Barrio over Langyambula, voting for Pedro over Rojo. Parlayed Martinez minus 165 and Barrio minus 170 for plus 155 at 1 unit. Took a straight shot on Zawada at plus 118 for half a unit. If either of those do well, then maybe I'll sprinkle on Brunson at plus 154, but not before I lay down a little bit of prop coverage for the Brunson Till under 3.5 at plus 105. Probably also going to sprinkle on Shore by sub plus 165. And I did 0.17 to point-quarter unit sprinkles on Martinez round 3, which I believe we got 1,200. Power bar round 3, I believe I got plus 875 on that one. And then Jourdain round 3, I think 850. All quarter unit. No avoid. You avoid what you want to avoid. I already listed what I'm avoiding and listed I'm playing what I'm playing. Shouts to D Love. A lot of D Love specials. Derek Love in the house. I haven't given the D Love. The D Love round 3. There's just too many. It's late. I'm a bit lost. And if I left anybody out, apologies. Much love to you guys. Oh yeah, that's right. If you listen to the audio version, I'm going to add on a little bit of Adam Sandler memory lane skit, short, sweet, and a reminder if you're on YouTube, you can always listen to audio versions and give the 5-star ratings, a like, subscribe. I don't really give a shit. You can do whatever the fuck you want. Good luck on your picks and plays, and always protect your neck.